to 150 ml per kg per day. Between 1000 to 1500 gram it is 80 to 100 ml, and for children, for neonates more than 1500 gram use 60 to 80 ml per kg. The lipid and protein requirement, protein we usually give in the range of 4 to 4.5 gram per kilogram per day, and lipid in 3 gram per kilogram per day. Another complication which usually occurs in these babies is hyperglycemia, so you must closely monitor the neonates for development of hypoglycemia by doing regular sugar charting, and the target sugar glucose should be 50 to 100 milligram per deciliter. We must use a glucose infusion rate of 4 to 6 in term newborns. So preterm it should be 6 to 8 milligram per kilogram, and we can go up to 12 milligram per kilogram per minute. For a child with symptomatic hypoglycemia, or if the glucose level falls less than 25, we give 2 ml of 10% dextrose, followed by a glucose infusion of 6 to 8 milligram per kilogram per minute. Another important aspect is prevention of sepsis. So we should try to prevent rather than try to cure sepsis. So we must strictly follow the hand washing protocols. We must follow a strict aseptic precaution while handling and doing the procedure. We must use bundle care. Use as many possible disposal as possible, and you should use sterile water and humidifiers. Then there are certain babies where we have to start the baby on antibiotic right in the first hour. There are babies who are at high risk of developing early onset sepsis, and the few of the risk factors are leaking more than 18 hours, maternal features of choriamnitis, maternal leukocytosis, the mother is having obvious foul-smelling liquor, there is uterine tenderness, fetal tachycardia, maternal UTI, and more than 3 clean or even 1 unclean examination, vaginal examination. In such babies, you must give the antibiotic depending on what your culture, your center is growing. We cannot have a generalization, but we know that the organisms are different in developing and developed countries. Lumbar puncture we may not do in first hour, but if there are indications the baby has thrown a seizure, then of course in golden hour we may not do. Later on, if we need, we can do a lumbar puncture if culture is showing something. CRP is not the correct indicator in the first hour because it takes some time to rise. If the center is having a fungal culture of more than 5%, sometimes we can start the baby right away on fungal prophylaxis. And then we can have odd cases like a baby born with a mother with hepatitis B, mother with HIV. So we know that we can start antiretroviral therapy in a baby born to mother with HIV. For baby with hepatitis B, we need to give immunoglobulin and hepatitis vaccination. And we must try to go for antibiotic stewardship. We must try to use antibiotic judiciously so as to prevent the development of resistance against these antibiotics. The therapeutic hypothermia, we know that should be done in first 6 hours, but the best time is if you can start it in the golden hour itself. The eligible neonates are those who are weighing more than 2 kg in gestation more than 36 weeks, who have features of moderate to severe encephalopathy, and evidence of neonatal fetal distress like acute perinatal event like cord prolapse, the cord pH less than 7, Apgar at 10 minutes less than 5, and if the baby has received assisted ventilation at birth and continued ventilation till 10 minutes. So these are the few candidates we know where hypothermia may be needed. The laboratory investigation, again, you can't have a general list of investigations. You have to see the baby and decide which investigation should be sent. But some common ones are blood sugar, CBC, blood culture, chest, X-ray, EVG. And time is, I'll just take 2 more minutes. If you have X-ray right away in the first hour, you know that this is a case of hyaline membrane disease, and we may need to use surfactant in this baby. So if a baby is having this interlobar fluid, you know this is a TTN, we are going, just 1 more minute. This baby will recover soon, so X-rays if required should be done within first hour. Then of course you must monitor and record all the event as they develop. You must monitor the vitals, you must record the blood weight, birth weight, sugar and Apgar score, and also the resuscitation details should be recorded. And whatever interventions you are doing, you must try to record them when that particular intervention was done, when surfactant was given, when UVC was put, when you started giving ventilation, when did you start timing of therapeutic hypothermia, when was first feed given. All this should be documented, and once you have managed the baby, the team should sit together and they should decide that what better they can do next time. Then again, once you have managed the baby, you must communicate the parents. You must tell them what you have done. Although there can be a person who is simultaneously telling the parents what they are doing to the baby. And even in a stable newborn, you must counsel the parent about feeding, temperature maintenance, and asepsis. Similarly, communication becomes important when you have to refer a baby to a next center. So you must communicate with that center, tell them the present status of the baby, what interventions have been done and how you have planned the management of that baby. Of course, you should get back to the obstetrician because she was the one who is very worried about the newborn, and you must tell her about the condition and what is the plan of management of that newborn. Last thing is transportation. Transportation, as just now in the planning session we have seen, it's of paramount importance. Before transporting baby, you must stabilize the baby, monitor temperatures, oxygen, perfusion and sugar, practice KMC, do proper documentation and intimate the referring unit well in advance and see whatever supportive you are given, they should be continued during transportation. So, what is the evidence? Whether this whole golden hour approach and the way teams work and they communicate, does it make any difference or is this a theoretical concept? So it has been seen that by using this golden hour approach, the chances of the quality first of all has improved. When you document everything over a period of time, the quality of the management improves. So there are less chances of hypothermia on admission, less chances of hypoglycemia, decreased incidence of IVH, BPD and ROP, and there have been significant reduction in the time for giving surfactant, starting IVF and TPL, shifting the baby to an ICU, administration of first, all these things they have become better by using this golden hour approach. So this was just a bird eye view of what we can do. Of course, each segment is a big topic in itself, how to do gentle ventilation, how to do all these things. But I think this was the overview I could give for the golden hour. And thank you so much, all of you, for patient hearing. And if there are any questions, and of course I request the comments from chairperson on this topic.
Thank you, Dr. Tomar. It's a very nice and crisp presentation, though it was a very big topic, but you have summarized very well within 20 minutes. And instead of first golden hour, it's the first golden minutes, which is much more important than the golden hour. And secondly, what I feel is we should equally involve parents at each and every step of counseling. And if any question from the audience.
Thank you so much. If there are chances of, that is the protocol is there actually. 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 6 hours, that is the management of hypoglycemia protocol is there. Usually after 30 minutes we monitor the sugar of the baby. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's call upon stage the chairpersons for our next session about initial stabilization and management of a sick neonate, role of CPAP and surfactant. Dr. Mandeep Singh Khurana, Professor at Sri Guru Ramdas Institute, Amritsar, Dr. Anjali Bansal, Dr. Manmeet Sodhi, Consultant at Sri Guru Ramdas Institute, Amritsar, and Dr. Neeraj Kumar Gupta, Associate Professor, Department of Pediatrics, Government Medical College, Doda. May I kindly ask the chairpersons to present the speaker, Dr. Anup Thakur.
Our speaker today is Dr. Anup Thakur. He is Senior Consultant Neonatologist at Sir Gangaram Hospital in Delhi. And he has many national and international journals to his credits. He is the editor of the books. He is a teacher trainer for DMD, reviewer of many journals. And sir, you may please start the session.
Yeah, so thank you, Chairperson, for the very kind introduction. And I see it's a very good time to present because the hall is empty and there's lunchtime. So thank you, NNF, and thank you, the organizers, for giving me this opportunity. Well, the topic which I am presenting is quite close to my heart because I'm going to take a leaf from the last presentation, golden hour, of what Dr. Nesh Tomar did. So I'm going to talk about initial stabilization and management of a sick neonate and what is the current role of CPAP and surfactant. Now, let me begin my presentation with a quote which says the graveyards are full of people without whom the world would not be. So this is the graveyard of Patrick Kennedy, a boy born at 34 weeks gestation, lived for 39 hours, and this boy changed the entire course of neonatology. It is because of this boy that we are what we are today, and whatever innovations have come to neonatology is thanks to this boy who survived just 39 hours. I'm just going to talk about a little bit about how CPAP and surfactant has evolved over the last few decades, how has evidence come up in these two magical treatments which has saved thousands of newborn babies across the globe. We all know well how CPAP works, and if I show you this paper, it was published in 1971 by Gregory, and CPAP is something which has stood the real struggle to save the baby for last 50 years. And it works by various mechanisms. It helps to maintain the functional respiratory capacity, helps to recruit the lung, conserves surfactant, decreases the work of breathing, and it improves the oxygenation in newborn babies. So CPAP helps to decrease the work of breathing in distress and helps also to spring the airways and make the breathing very comfortable. We all use either of these three mechanisms of CPAP. Either we use a bubble CPAP, where the expiratory circuit is dipped in a bubble bottle to provide a continuous descending pressure. Or we use a ventilator CPAP, where the continuous descending pressure is provided by the PEEP valve. Some of us may be using a more complex mechanism, which is the infant flow driver, where during inspiration, because of Bernoulli's effect and Venturi action, the air is driven inside, and during expiration, the work of breathing is further decreased because of fluidic flip of the direction of air, which is called the Conda effect. Now, let's see how CPAP has evolved and what is the evidence which we currently have in favor of this magical treatment. So CPAP in neonates, those who have respiratory distress, had decreased the need for mechanical ventilation, surfactant administration, and chronic lung disease. But yet certain issues are still being studied because we yet do not know how to use this mode best, leave aside high frequency nitric oxide and all those things. Now, a study published 20 years back looked into what should be the starting pressure of CPAP. What should we start with? 2 centimeters of water, 4 centimeters, 6 centimeters, or 8 centimeters of water. They found that there was improvement in tidal volume, low respiratory rate, and decrease in thoracoabdominal asynchrony if the pressures were higher. Now, a randomized controlled trial, which was published by Murky et al., did not find any difference whether you start CPAP with 5 centimeters of water or 7 centimeters of water. And if you look at the Cochrane review published 2 years back, there is no difference in the outcome whether you start CPAP with 5 centimeters of water or with more than 5 centimeters of water, either as a primary mode or after extubation. Then we are faced with another problem that I have this particular mode of CPAP, I have bubble CPAP or I have ventilator CPAP, but what should I be using, which is the best mode? Now, the Cochrane review published this year in 2023 has some evidence that bubble CPAP is probably the best mode in terms of decrease in the risk of treatment failure. However, there is a word of caution. It can increase moderate to severe nasal injury, and there is no difference in harder outcomes like chronic lung disease or mortality. Other issue is what should be my interface. Should I use binasal prongs or should I use mask? So we should be proud of the fact that in the last Cochrane review, there are 8 Indian studies which have evaluated mask versus prongs as interface for CPAP delivery. And what we have found that with the use of mask, the CPAP treatment failure is less, and there is lesser moderate to severe nasal injury, although there is no difference in bronchopulmonary dysplasia or in mortality. So, to summarize few remarks on CPAP, CPAP is beneficial in sick neonates with respiratory distress syndrome. Starting pressure of 5 centimeters of water is based on consensus. The evidence is not that strong, and probably bubble CPAP is a better mode in terms of its success rate, but could cause more nasal trauma. and mask is better than prompts if we talk about the interfaces. Now, what should we do when a baby is born and has distress in the delivery room? Should we directly intubate or give surfactant? And this issue has been dealt in large randomized controlled trials in pretty smaller babies less than 29 weeks. CPAP and surfactant has been compared and the results have been quite equivocal. Nobody has been the winner actually. But if you can take out some clues from these trials which have now already enrolled close to 3,000 small babies, you'll find that we can presume that early CPAP is feasible even in extremes of prematurity. In more than half the neonates, mechanical ventilation could be avoided just by using CPAP. The need for surfactant is halved, and there is also a marginal decrease in bronchopulmonary dysplasia or death. So let's not take CPAP that lightly. But there could be a problem. The problem is all neonates might not be successful on CPAP, and a proportion of them might fail despite application of optimum CPAP therapy. If we look at all these trials, they have taken different cutoffs for CPAP failure. The FI2 has been ranging from 40 to 60%, or if there is presence of respiratory acidosis, if there is apnea, if there is hemodynamic instability. So they have termed this as CPAP failure. Now, if we look at the data which we have from these trials, despite having 95% of coverage of antenatal steroids, the CPAP failures in extremely low birth weight babies has been ranging from 33% to 50%. And further, people have studied the predictors of CPAP failures. So smaller the gestation is less than 26 weeks, you have more chances of having CPAP failure. Higher the severity of RDS in terms of alveolar arterial oxygen difference, in terms of FiO2 requirement, in terms of features.